have almost 20,000 followers on TikTok, but the bigger my audience has gotten, the harder it's been to post. And not because I've been posting less, but because there's this layer of second guessing that I never had when no one was watching. So if you've been feeling the same way, I want to talk about it. I am a licensed social worker who in the last few months stepped away from my career and my 9-to-5 job to pursue a creative career. I've started a business, I've picked up a part-time job, and I'm having so much fun doing all of it. I started posting on TikTok in 2020, like a lot of people during the pandemic, when there was a lot more free time and it was basically the wild, wild west. You could post almost anything and go viral, outfits, little dances and things like that. And I saw it as like a fun sort of branch of social media where I didn't have a lot of people following me or interacting with me that I knew in real life, like Instagram. So TikTok felt like a fun place to play. There wasn't anybody following me from high school or undergrad or church or whatever. I just used it as my creative playground. I talked about topics that I wanted to talk about. I used it sort of like a journal entry in the early days of my relationship with David. We met in 2022. It was really just fun, like really, really fun. And I didn't feel like any level of embarrassment. When I look back at some of those videos now, I'm like, girl, embarrassment fears you, because I was just posting a little bit of anything and everyone was. And there was this like sort of beautiful anonymity and fun that I got to have, and I was connecting with people who were people that I didn't know in real life. But then you start to pick up traction. And I remember when I first hit like 10K followers, people that I was working with at the time started to like have my videos show up in their FYP, and they would ask me about it, or they'd be like, oh, I see you, girl. Like I was going viral a lot more at that time. And people in my real life were starting to take notice. Oh, I follow you on TikTok and I've been watching your videos and I wait for your videos. And so I became more and more conscious of the fact that there were eyes that I knew in real life that were watching me, some that were telling me that they were and others that weren't. Even like my boyfriend, there were videos that I showed of he and I, or just him. Some of his coworkers were starting to see those videos, and family members. And my audience continued to grow, and I continued to have fun with the platform. But I think there's this awareness, this feeling of being perceived, especially after every like viral video where I felt like, okay, now I want to recluse into a shell, like where someone might have built upon that virality and like used it to continue to grow. I feel like there were really pivotal moments that like I would go viral and then I wouldn't post for like a week and a half because I just felt so perceived, and it was a bit overwhelming to me. It was both counterintuitive and confusing. This is exciting. People are seeing my content. I want them to see my content. But at the same time, I feel overwhelmed by being seen by so many people, by input, by feedback, by responding to comments, by the people in my real life, knowing sometimes more than I would share with them personally, but because they've seen a TikTok video of mine that was a little bit more personal, now they have access to information that I might not have shared with them one-on-one. So it's just such a wild experience. Shrinking showed up in a bunch of different ways. For me, it looked like overthinking captions, or even just things that I would choose to share, things that might have felt more natural for me to share originally years ago when no one was really watching my videos. I felt a little bit more aware of now, especially that I knew maybe colleagues or family members were watching my videos. So when I think about things like even healing content that I would share, like stuff, little nuggets from therapy, or things about being an oldest daughter, or that sort of stuff, I started to become more and more aware of like how this will be perceived by other people, and will it hurt people's feelings? Will it make other people uncomfortable? Am I putting, you know, the experiences of my family and our dynamic on Front Street? Just like so many things that I became more and more conscious of. Also, similarly with my relationship, like I never want to be the person that only shares highlights per se, but my relationship is sacred to me. It's so special, and what David and I share means everything to me. And so there got to be a point when our relationship hit a certain space where, you know, people are looking for like the sweet content and like, oh my God, I hope you guys stay together. And there's this feeling maybe that you're like giving a little bit of a performance, and I never wanted that to feel like that. I never wanted to feel the pressure to pick up the camera when he and I were just having a good time and enjoying each other, if it didn't feel organic and natural. And so I started to question that stuff too, because our relationship is more important to me than any video that I could post about us. I want he and I to always be good, and we are, and we were, but I just started to, like, I don't know, I don't want to be like performing black love, you know what I mean, on the internet. I want to enjoy my beautiful, happy, healthy relationship and keep it that way. There were a lot of videos that I filmed that I didn't post, or ideas that I had for videos that I never fully executed, just because, again, I was in my head about, can I talk about this? Can I say this? Now I'm thinking about not just my community online, but the people in my life who might see this. And is that information that I want them to have? I was definitely defaulting to safer topics and softening my opinions on certain things, because the internet can be a scary place. As much as people have been so kind and supportive to me on the internet, I've watched people's audience completely turn on them, or your videos end up on the wrong side of the internet and people tear you to shreds. And I always felt like that's not what I'm looking to do. I'm not necessarily looking to be the most controversial person on the internet and have the hottest take. But in that, there were times when I did have an opinion and a clear point of view about something, and I didn't speak to those things. And those also felt like missed opportunities to share my opinion from my specific lens. All of this is not uncommon. I think my background before stepping into social media has been one that encouraged me to be very private and also very thoughtful. I say all the time that it's very rare that I say things that I don't mean, but on the flip side of that, very often there are things that I want to say, should say, feel an urge to say that I don't, because of overthinking. So that pendulum for me kind of swings the other way. That comes from a lot of things. I am the oldest daughter in my family, and we grew up, I would say, in a family that was pretty like enmeshed in our dynamic. And so I have always felt some level of protectiveness, right? Like, there are things that we say and things that we don't say. I'm also a pastor's kid, so there are things we say and things we don't say. There's this certain sort of like public self, or like facade, or this self that you present to the world that's maybe not the fullest version of yourself, but it is a version of who I am. It's true of who I am, but it's, I guess, incomplete. Like, there are more facets to me that I didn't always feel at liberty to share growing up. And this was also true for me moving into social work. It's a career where you have to be very mindful of your social media presence and what you say and what you don't say. And, you know, I was working with kids, and you think about parents and kids and people finding you online. And so also being conscientious about that, especially as colleagues started to find me online. Visibility just feels unsafe when you're used to being useful but not visible. I felt like I had a lot to offer other people, and people appreciated my giving, what I had to offer, the ways that I helped, the things that I did, but not necessarily who I was at my core, who I am at my core, the things that I'm interested in, the things that I find funny, the things that I find beautiful, the things that I appreciate. I don't know if I always felt seen for that stuff as much as I felt seen for like performance and achievement and doing. So that makes visibility feel really scary, because you just aren't used to being seen as yourself. I wasn't used to being seen as myself. And also being seen leaves this openness to being judged, right? To being perceived. And once now I let you see past my actions and my achievements and my performance and let you see the heart of who I am, will you accept that, or will you judge it? Will you make fun of it? Will you misunderstand it? Being misunderstood was such a thread of a feeling throughout my entire life. It has been such a thread for me. And I feel like in a lot of seasons of life, I felt misunderstood. Like, I just didn't quite fit. As a kid and as a teenager, I always felt like older than my years in some ways. I think it was because of chronic anxiety and masking ADHD now. So that's the why. That's what I think is going on underneath all of this. But knowing the why only does so much. At some point, you have to decide to do something about it. And I've been working on something. I don't know if it's a framework yet or just a practice. I'm still figuring that out, but it's been helping me, so I want to share it with you. Okay, so here's what I'm calling this. I've been calling it visibility reps. And the reason that name landed for me is because I kept thinking I needed to feel something different before I could post. Like I was waiting to feel ready, I was waiting to feel confident, I was waiting to feel that motivation or just like pure passion and desire from 2021 or 2022. And I was waiting for the fear and insecurity to go away first. And I realized, or remembered rather, that's not how anything works. That's not how you build any other muscle. You don't wait to feel strong to lift the weight. You lift the weight and over time you get strong. Being seen is the same thing. It's not a personality trait that some people were born with and others weren't. It's a muscle. I think a lot of us, especially if you grew up being the responsible one or you were trained to be useful versus seen, that muscle just hasn't become developed. So when visibility comes for us, it doesn't feel exciting. It feels foreign. It feels strange. It feels uncomfortable. And it feels exposing. It feels like something to manage, and we shrink without even realizing that we're doing it. So I just started thinking about every post, every piece of content as a rep. Not as this big thing where I have to feel a certain way about it first. Just, did I show up today? Did I say what I wanted to say? Did I post the thing that was a little bit more honest than safe? That's a rep. And the next day I do another one. And the day after that, another one. And what I'm noticing is that the fear doesn't ever totally go away, but I'm not waiting for that anymore. What changes is my tolerance for the fear. I can feel uncomfortable and post anyway. So that's the whole thing. That's the practice. This isn't about pushing through fear or manifesting the confidence. It's training. Reps build the muscle. The fear doesn't go away. The tolerance for it grows. I'm gonna keep talking about this, and maybe it's a framework or some practice that we could all do together. So if this resonated, subscribe, and I will see you next Thursday. Love you. Later.